Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. YouTube, Ali here. Just recording a quick video in response to Madman Stan. Hey Madman Stan, Ali here. First of all, my apologies for taking so long to respond to your video. And secondly, thanks for the compliments on your video. I don't think that I'm any good at explaining anything, but if it made sense to you, I appreciate that. I did make some notes. I don't know if you can see it. My camera is acting up today. Whatever. Any case, I made some notes on what you said in your video, and interestingly enough, whatever you said is the justification in Islam, so to speak. What am I saying? Well, one of the things that you said is that all these interfaith discussions are missing the point that it's there's a universal truth, and that's exactly what Islam says. We say that there's a universal truth, that there is one God who has no partners, and we are all supposed to be following whatever His will and command is. I mean, like His will is that we breathe until we die, type of deal. This is God's command. So this is kind of the things this is what we believe in Islam. So yes, we do believe in that universal truth. As a matter of fact, we believe that the messages were universal as well, meaning that every nation on the face of the earth did receive a message from God. So it doesn't matter where you go on earth, doesn't matter who the people are. We believe that a messenger has came to them and gave them the message. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that they accepted the messenger or anything like that, because even in the time of the Jews, because that's the recorded history that we can go to, they killed many messengers, many people that claim to be messengers of God, and the Quran attests to that as well, saying that many messengers have gone out and that people have killed them. Okay, so this is something that we as Muslims believe, that yes, there is in fact a universal message, and that again every nation has had a messenger. Having said that, this is where when you were saying that, you said that basically all the religions teach the same thing, the basic 10 commandments. That's basically what all religion teach, and yes, I accept that. These all religions that came from God would have this in it, have this message in it, that hey, God is one, that you should be good unto your fellow man, and all the basic 10 commandments. You'll find that in every religion, because it's a universal message from God. I accept that. The problem is, and I'll give you an example that we can easily look to. If you open up the Hindu scriptures, in their Vedas, it talks about there being one God. It talks about that you shouldn't create idols and worship this God, etc., etc. But as you go on a little bit further into history, you find that not further into history, more closer to our present, I should say. You find that our Hindu brothers and sisters, they started to carve images and all these different gods. Times you get to the Bhagavad Gita, now you're praying to a whole host of gods, to the point that there's over 300,000 or so gods in Hinduism. Now, what does that have to do with anything with the monotheistic religion of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity? Well, it has nothing to do with it, but what it points out is that the fact that there was, in fact, an initial message that they got that spoke to there being one God. And that you shouldn't create images, etc., etc., ascribe partners to God. Now that message got changed, and this is exactly what we believe Islam came to do, came to eradicate those changes. We go back to the Judaism, we find that they pray to one God, etc., etc. But then when Christianity came along, well, now all of a sudden we have God and the Son of God, who is in fact God. It's confusing to begin with, but the point is, here the message got changed, and therefore when Islam came, it came to expose those changes and give what is in fact the truth. We believe that Jesus was created, miraculous birth, no male intervention. We believe that he did miracles. We believe, we believe that he's the Messiah to the Jewish people. We believe that. We just don't accept that he is God. Okay, and this is where I think a lot of people miss the point. Islam accepts that Jesus is a prophet of God. Islam accepts that all of the miracles that Jesus performed. We accept all of that, but our Jewish we just don't believe that he's God. Okay, and again, this is where Islam came to correct that message that no, Jesus is not God. In fact, he is a prophet of God. All right, so that is basically what our Islam teaches. So basically, what your video pointed out was exactly what Islam says. That the messages were changed over time. And you hit it on the nail on the hammer on the nail, whatever you want to say. When you said that what caused these changes to the eternal message of God were leaders that were greedy and lustful, and they wanted material stuff, and that's exactly true, and that's what we believe. This is why the Quran, from when it was revealed, was memorized and then written down so that it would not get affected and changed to the point that there's thousands of people that have the Quran memorized in this day in time. If we were to take all the Quran and burn it, by tomorrow the Muslims will be able to produce another Quran that is exactly the same as the one that was burnt yesterday. So this is the point. This is exactly why Islam was created in such a way that the message will be preserved, and it'll be more difficult for people to change it. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people out there that attribute things to Islam that is not in the Quran, and they basically take verses out of context, this, that, the other. But the actual core Quran itself, they cannot alter, if that makes any sense to you. Like, they can take verses out of context, just like with any book, you can take verses out of context, but you can't read the Quran and say, this is exactly what it says. Like, a lot of the critics of Islam talk about the verses in the Quran that talks about killing. Well, if you read those verses carefully, it talks about defending yourself. It does not talk about just getting up one day and saying, hey, let's go kill some Christians. It doesn't talk like that. But when you listen to the critics of Islam, it sounds exactly that. So this is the thing, and you did mention something about killing each other, and I do want to make sure I hit on that before I forget, that in Islam we're told to fight in defense of ourselves. We're not to fight in aggression, and it's very important that people understand that. We're not, no Muslim is told to go out there and you have a peaceful relationship with your neighbor and just start a fight. Islam does not teach that. Islam says if your neighbor fights you, you have two options. One is you can forgive him and your reward is with your God, and two, you have the options to fight him. But then you've received your reward on earth. Right? So this is basically the teachings of Islam. Right? And again, you'll find the critics of Islam, they point to things like that, like, hey, Islam says to go kill this, that, the other. Islam does not teach that. Alright? So why the discussion? Why do we have these kind of discussion? That's basically what your video was asking. And the reason we have these discussion is that if you saw someone was doing something wrong and you truly cared for them, you really wanted them to do the right thing, you would talk to them, argue with them, reason with them. And that's exactly what we do in Islam. With what we're doing here on with these guys on YouTube, etc. This is exactly what we're doing. That if someone has an issue where they're trying to, especially, see, if you look at my very first video, I'm only talking for me, I'm not talking for the other Muslims here on YouTube, because I have to be very careful about it, because some people here on YouTube think differently. But the way I think, okay, if you look at my very first video that I created, the reason I created it was because one of the Christian apologetics on here took something that was, written in the Quran out of context and was claiming things that Islam didn't say. So the whole reason I came onto this YouTube forum was for the simple fact that this person was lying against my religion. And it really upset me to the point that right after work I went out and bought a webcam and I created my first video. Okay? So, I mean, everybody has different reasons for doing things. From my standpoint is this thing, that if someone is going to say something that is wrong about my religion, I'm going to defend it, because I know for a fact that my religion is truth. And why do I say that I know this? Well, if you read the Quran, if you understand the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, you'll find that they are very much the same teachings of the previous messages. Okay? And when I say previous, I'm not talking about the messages of Paul written in the New Testament. I'm talking about the messages of Jesus, where he said that, hear, O Israel, your God is one. The message of Moses, which said, hear, O Israel, your God is one. The message of Abraham, who believed that the God is one. Alright? This is basically the belief. Okay? So hopefully that made some sense to you. I don't know if I answered your question or not, and I apologize again for taking so long. I did watch your video the first time. I actually rated it. I just didn't have the time to create a video since then till now. So bear with me if you send me another reply and it takes me a while. I appreciate your patience. Alright, so for the rest of my viewers that are watching, thank you for watching. To each and every one of you, Assalamu alaikum. May the peace and blessings of God be upon each one of you. Assalamu alaikum. I did make some notes. I don't know if you can see it. My camera is acting up today, whatever. Any case, I made some notes on what you said in your video, and interestingly enough, whatever you said is the justification in Islam, so to speak. What am I saying? Well, one of the things that you said is that all these interfaith discussions are missing the point that it's there's a universal truth, and that's exactly what Islam says. We say that there's a universal truth, that there is one God who has no partners, and we are all supposed to be following whatever His will and command is. I mean, like His will is that we breathe until we die, type of deal. That's this. And secondly, thanks for the compliments on your video. I don't think that I'm any good at explaining anything, but if it made sense to you, I appreciate that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, YouTube. Ali here. Just recording a quick video in response to Madman Stan. Hey Madman Stan, Ali here. First of all, my apologies for taking so long to respond to your video.